She has no one else, Claire. You need to be her mother now. You've always wanted a baby, right? Well, here she is. Jason looked at me with a terrifyingly genuine smile, gesturing to the screaming infant lying in a crib that hadn't been there. 3 days ago. He looked like he had just bought me a puppy. He didn't look like a man who had just confessed that his mistress died in childbirth and he'd brought the evidence of his infidelity into our home. You want me to raise her? I whispered, my voice barely audible over the baby's wails. I want us to be a family, he said, reaching for my hand. This is our second chance. I looked at his hand, the hand wearing the wedding band I bought him, and I felt the urge to vomit. To understand why. I emptied our joint bank account and left. My husband with a newborn he didn't know how to feed. I have to back up. My name is Claire. I'm 32, and for the last 4 years my life has been defined by a single crushing failure, my uterus. I'm a marketing director who manages multi-million-dollar budgets, but I couldn't manage to give Jason a child. We spent our savings on IVF. We endured the shots, the hormones, the crying in bathroom stalls when the tests came back negative. Through it all, Jason was the perfect husband. He held my hand. He told me it didn't matter. He told me that we were enough. I believed him. I believed that his late nights at the office were him working overtime to pay for the treatments. I believed his business trips to Ohio were for sales conferences. I built a pedestal for that man so high I couldn't see the cracks in the foundation. I was supposed to be in Seattle for a week-long conference. But on Tuesday, the keynote speaker canceled, and the event wrapped up early. I decided to fly home to surprise Jason. I fantasized about it on the plane ordering takeout. Watching a movie, maybe just sleeping in our own bed. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just took an Uber from O'Hare and walked up the driveway of the house we rented together. The first thing I noticed was the box on the porch. A delivery box for a crib mattress. My heart stopped. My first thought was irrational hope. Did he adopt? Did a surrogate fall through? My second thought was confusion. I unlocked the door. The house was quiet, except for a soft, rhythmic whimpering. Coming from the guest room, the room we had jokingly called the nursery years ago. Before we stopped saying the word out loud, I walked down the hallway, my suitcase heavy in my hand. The door was ajar. I pushed it open. There, in the center of the room, was a hastily assembled wooden crib. And standing over it, looking exhausted but strangely proud, was Jason. He was holding a bottle of formula. He turned when the floorboard creaked. He didn't look guilty. He didn't panic. He just smiled, a soft, delusional smile that made my blood run cold. "You're home early," he said. "I was going to tell you tonight. Come meet her." I dropped my suitcase. "Who is that?" "This is Maya," he said softly. Then he looked me dead in the eye and delivered the sentence that shattered my reality. "She's ours. Ours." I repeated, my brain misfiring. "We didn single quotes to do it dn single quotes t do." "I know," he interrupted soothingly. "But her mother a coworker of mine She passed away on Sunday during the delivery. There was no one else on the birth certificate, Claire, just me." The room spun. A coworker. Sunday. The math hit me like a physical blow. While I was in Seattle, presenting a marketing strategy, my husband was in a hospital delivery room holding the hand of another woman. "You had an affair," I stated. It wasn't a question. We were close," he corrected, dodging the word. "But that doesn't matter now. What matters is that God has given us a baby." "You've been praying for this, Claire, don't you see? This is the answer." He actually thought I would be grateful. He thought he could cheat on me for months, maybe years, bring the result into our home, and I would just instinctively start changing diapers because I was desperate to be a mother. I looked at the baby. She was innocent. She was tiny. And she was the living, breathing proof that my entire marriage was a lie. "Get out of my way," I said. Jason's smile faltered. "Claire, you're in shock. Just hold her. Once you hold her, you'll see." He tried to thrust the bundle toward me. I stepped back, hitting the doorframe. I said, "Get away from me." "Don't be like that." His voice hardened, the charm slipping to reveal the entitlement underneath. "This is happening. She lives here now. You need to step up." I locked myself in the master bedroom. I could hear Jason pacing in the hallway, the floorboards creaking under his weight. Occasionally, the baby would cry, a thin, reedy sound that grated against my nerves like sandpaper. Every time she cried, Jason would knock on the door. Claire, she's hungry. Do we have any ... Do you know how to mix this? I didn't answer. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at our wedding photo on the nightstand. The Jason in the photo looked so happy, so honest. The Jason in the hallway was a stranger who had been lying to my face for the duration of a pregnancy. Around 8 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Barbara, my mother _law ... of course. He had called in the cavalry. I let it go to voicemail. Then she called again and again. On the fourth ring, I picked up, mostly to make the noise stop. Claire! Barbara's voice boomed through the speaker, breathless and excited. Jason told me the news. Oh, praise be. Isn't it a miracle? I blinked, trying to process the words. A miracle, Barbara? Your son committed adultery. Oh, hush with that ugly word, she snapped. Men have needs, Claire. And let's be honest, you weren't providing in that department. You couldn't give him a family. So the Lord found another way. I felt the blood drain from my face. The Lord found a way? A woman died, Barbara. A woman is dead. It's tragic, yes, she conceded quickly, dismissing the death of a human being like it was a minor inconvenience. But God works in mysterious ways. He took that poor woman so that you could finally be a mother. Don't you see? He fixed your brokenness. My brokenness. For 4 years, Barbara had sat at my Thanksgiving table and told me to just relax, and I would get pregnant. She had sent me articles about herbal teas and prayer circles. And now she was twisting the knife, framing my husband's betrayal as divine intervention to fix my failure. I am not her mother, I said, my voice shaking with a rage I hadn't known I possessed. She isn't mine. She is Jason's and his mistress's. Family steps up. Barbara's voice rose to a shriek. That baby has Jason's blood. That makes her family, and you are his wife. That makes it your duty. You've always wanted a baby, and now you're going to reject a gift from heaven because of your pride. You're being heartless, Claire. Selfish. Selfish? I laughed, a dry, hysterical sound. Selfish is expecting me to raise the child my husband made while cheating on me. You will do it, she commanded, her tone dropping to that steel-edged matriarch voice she used to bully her own children. You will walk out of that room, you will take that baby, and you will thank Jason for giving you a purpose. Because if you leave him over this, you will be a divorced, barren woman in her 30s, and who will want you then? The line went dead. I sat there in the silence of the room. The insult hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Divorced, barren, unwanted. That was their bet. They were betting that my fear of being alone, my desperation for a child, and my low self-worth after years of infertility would force me to stay. They thought I was trapped. They thought I would look at that baby and my maternal instincts would override my self-respect. I stood up and walked to the mirror. I looked at myself. I didn't see a broken woman. I saw a woman who had managed million-dollar marketing campaigns. I saw a woman who had carried this family financially while Jason found himself in 3 different sales jobs. I saw a woman who paid the rent. I unlocked the bedroom door and walked out. Jason was in the kitchen, struggling to warm a bottle under the tap. He looked up, relief flooding his face. Oh, thank God, he sighed. Barbara talked some sense into you. Look, I'm sorry about the shock, but we can do this. She just needs a mother, Claire. She needs you. I looked at him. I looked at the mess of formula powder on the counter. I looked at the dark circles under his eyes. You're right, I said calmly. We need to sleep on it. We'll figure it out in the morning. Jason exhaled, his shoulders dropping. Thank you. I knew you'd come around. You're a good person, Claire. He thought he had won. He thought the storm had passed. He had no idea that I wasn't making peace. I was buying time. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed next to Jason, listening to his deep, rhythmic breathing. He slept like a baby, ironic, considering the actual baby in the next room woke up every 2 hours. Each time she cried, Jason would groan, turn over and wait for me to get up. When I didn't move, he would stumble out of bed, muttering under his breath. He was already testing the dynamic. He assumed that by morning, the night shift would be my job. I stared at the ceiling and let my mind do what it did best. Analyze data. I thought about the last 2 years. The timeline Jason had given me didn't add up. He said the affair was over, but the baby was newborn. That meant he was sleeping with her 9 months ago. I got up quietly and went to the living room, grabbing Jason's laptop bag. He never password protected his personal laptop because we have no secrets. I opened it. I didn't have to dig deep. His email was logged in. I searched for a flight. Confirmation emails popped up. Orbitz, flight to Cleveland. Oh, March 12th to 14th. Business trip. Orbitz, flight to Cleveland. Oh, April 10th to 12th. Business trip. Orbitz. Flight to Cleveland. Oh, May 15th to 17th. Business trip. I checked his calendar for those dates. Sales conference. Then I checked the bank statements I had access to. On those dates, there were charges in Cleveland. Not at a hotel, at a grocery store, at a movie theater, at a baby furniture outlet. He hadn't just been sleeping with her. He had been playing house. He had been flying to Ohio once a month to build a life with another woman while I was injecting myself with hormones in our bathroom. Praying for a miracle. I searched for the woman's name, Sarah Jenkins. I found an obituary published 3 days ago. Survived by her loving partner, Jason, and newborn daughter, Maya. Loving partner. He wasn't just a cheater, he was a polygamist in spirit. He had 2 families. And the only reason he brought Maya here was because Plan A died. I wasn't his second chance. I was his free babysitter. I closed the laptop. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The sadness was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. It was 4 a.m. I had 3 hours before Jason's alarm went off. I went to the kitchen and made a pot of coffee. I sat at the table with a notepad and a pen. I wasn't writing a pros and cons list. I was doing math. We lived in Illinois, a state that treats marital property as equitable. We rented the house, so there was no mortgage to fight over. The lease was in both our names. Our savings account, the baby fund we had built for IVF and adoption, had $42,000 in it. I checked the joint account balance on my phone app. $42,150. Jason made decent commissions, but he spent them. I was the saver. I was the one who moved money automatically every payday. That $42,000 was 80% my earnings. I looked at the clock. 5:30 a.m., Jason shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. He looked at me, sitting there with my coffee. "You're up early," he yawned. "Did you feed her?" "No," I said. He frowned. "Claire, come on. I have to go to work today. I have a big presentation." "Can you just take the day off? Bond with her?" "Go to work, Jason," I said, forcing a smile that felt like cracking plaster. "I'll handle things here." His face lit up. He walked over and kissed my forehead. "Thank you. I knew you'd step up. You're going to be a great mom." He showered, dressed, and left at 7 a.m., whistling as he walked to the car. He thought he had pulled it off. He thought he had successfully merged his 2 lives into one convenient package. I watched his car disappear down the street. Then I stood up, walked to the guest room, and looked at the baby sleeping in the crib. "I'm sorry you lost your mother," I whispered to the sleeping infant. "But you didn't gain one today." Pause for a moment. I want to know what you guys think. Was I being too harsh leaving an innocent baby involved in this, or did Jason deserve what was coming? Tell me in the comments. I went to the bedroom and pulled out my suitcases. I didn't pack everything. I packed my clothes, my jewelry, my laptop, and my birth certificate. I packed the things that mattered. Then I called the bank. The moment Jason's car turned the corner at the end of the block, I started the timer on my phone. I calculated I had roughly 9 hours before he returned. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I moved with the cold efficiency of a project manager. Closing out a failed account. First, the bank. I drove to the branch as soon as it opened at 9 a.m. I walked up to the teller, a woman named Susan who had helped us set up the account years ago. "I'd like to make a withdrawal," I said, sliding my ID and debit card across the counter. "A cashier's check, please." "Amount?" she asked, typing away. $21,075, I said. Susan paused. She looked at the screen, then at me. "That's exactly half the balance, Mrs. Miller." "Yes," I said, "it is." In Illinois, joint accounts are considered 100% the property of either holder. I could have legally drained every cent. I could have left him with 0. But I wasn't a thief. I was a woman settling a debt. I took exactly my share, the share I had contributed, and left him the other half. He would need it for diapers. Next, the landlord. I drove to the property management office. I pulled out my checkbook and wrote a check for 2 months' rent, the penalty fee for breaking a lease early. I'm invoking the domestic hardship clause, I told the property manager, handing him the check and a signed letter removing myself from the lease effective immediately. I am vacating the property today. Jason will be assuming full tenancy. He looked confused, but the check cleared. He stamped the paper. Legally, I was a ghost. I returned to the house at 11 a.m. The baby, Maya, was sleeping. I didn't hire movers. I didn't want the delay. I took my suitcases, my jewelry box, and the small safe from the closet that held my passport and birth certificate. I loaded them into my SUV. Then came the furniture. I didn't strip the house bare. I wasn't petty enough to take the bed he slept on. But I took the things I had bought. The espresso machine. The 65-inch TV I bought him for Christmas. The expensive ergonomic office chair. I left the nursery untouched. The crib, the changing table, the diapers, that was his world now. At 3 p.m. Maya woke up crying. For a moment, instinct kicked in. I took a step toward the room, then I stopped. I remembered Barbara's voice. You need to be her mother now. No, I said aloud to the empty hallway. I don't. I walked into the room. I changed her diaper efficiently without cooing or cuddling. I fed her a bottle, propped her up to burp her, and placed her back in the crib. She was safe. She was dry. She was fed. I looked at her one last time. She had Jason's nose. Good luck, Maya, I whispered. You're going to need it. I walked out of the room and closed the door just enough to keep the draft out. I went to the kitchen counter. I placed the cashier's check receipt, the lease termination papers, and my wedding ring in a neat pile next to the formula tin. I didn't write a note. I didn't leave a letter explaining my feelings. Jason knew what he did. Explaining it would imply he deserved closure. He didn't. I checked my watch. 4:15 p.m. Jason usually walked through the door at 5:30 p.m. I picked up my purse, walked out the front door, and locked it behind me. I dropped the key through the mail slot. It made a soft clink as it hit the floor inside. I got in my car and drove away. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I drove straight to the extended stay hotel I had booked an hour ago, turned off my phone, and ordered room service. I was eating a club sandwich when the sun went down. I imagined the scene happening across town. Jason walking in, expecting a hot dinner and a submissive wife. Instead, finding a silent house, a darker living room, and the sudden, piercing wail of a hungry infant echoing in an empty hallway. His fantasy was over. His reality had just begun. I didn't turn my phone on until the next morning. When I did, it vibrated for a solid 5 minutes. 47 missed calls, 18 voicemails, 93 texts. The text started angry. Where are you? Why is the TV gone? This isn't funny, Claire. Pick up. Then they turned panicked. She won't stop crying. I don't know how to mix the formula. Claire, please. I can't do this alone. Then came the threats. I'm calling the cops. You abandoned your child. That's a crime. My mother is on her way over. I scrolled through them with a detached curiosity, like reading a case study about someone else's life. Then I saw the voicemail from the Schaumburg Police Department. Mrs. Miller, this is Officer Daniels. Your husband called to report a kidnapping or a missing person. It's unclear. Please call us back to verify your safety. I called the officer immediately. This is Claire Miller, I said calmly. I'm not missing. I left my husband. I am safe at a hotel. Oh, the officer sounded relieved and frankly a little annoyed. He said you abandoned your infant daughter. I don't have a daughter, I said clearly. My husband brought home his mistress's baby yesterday. I am not the mother. I have no legal guardianship. I left him with his own child. There was a long silence on the other end. Then a soft chuckle. I see. Well, ma'am, that's a civil matter, not a police matter. You have a nice day. Jason had tried to weaponize the police, and it had backfired spectacularly. The next few days were a blur of logistics. I hired a lawyer, a shark named Evelyn, who specialized in high-asset divorces. She listened to my story without blinking. He wants to sue you for child abandonment? Evelyn laughed, tapping her pen. Let him try. Illinois. Law is clear. You have no biological or legal tie to that child. He signed the birth certificate alone. You are legally a stranger to that baby. Jason tried to serve me papers anyway. He sent a process server to my office trying to embarrass me, but I was ready. I had instructed security to turn away anyone looking for me. Instead, I decided to return the favor. I knew Jason's schedule. Every Friday at 10 a.m., his pharmaceutical company held a regional sales meeting in the glass-walled conference room visible from the lobby. His boss, a no-nonsense man named Mr. Henderson, would be there. I hired a process server. But not just any server, I hired a woman. A woman who looked professional, discreet, and serious. I gave her the packet. Inside was the divorce filing, citing adultery. But attached to it was a copy of the birth certificate Jason had carelessly left on the counter. The one proving he had a child during our marriage. Friday, 10:15 a.m. My server walked into his office lobby. She told the receptionist she had urgent legal documents for Jason Miller regarding paternity matters. Jason was called out of the meeting. Through the glass wall, I imagine his coworkers watched as he walked into the lobby, looking confused. The server handed him the thick envelope. He opened it. He saw the divorce decree. He saw the birth certificate. His face went white. He looked up, scanning the parking lot, maybe looking for me, but I wasn't there. I was miles away, sitting in a sunny cafe, signing the lease on a new condo in the city, a condo with 1 bedroom and 0 nurseries. The fallout was nuclear. Jason lost his job. 2 months later, turns out companies don't like it when you use corporate credit cards for business trips to Ohio that are actually visits to a mistress. Barbara, my mother-in-law, tried one last Hail Mary. She showed up at my new office, crying, holding the baby. "Look at her, Claire," she wailed in the lobby. "She's innocent. How can you turn your back on family?" I walked out to meet her. I didn't yell. I didn't cause a scene. "She is innocent, Barbara," I said softly. "But she isn't my family. She's yours. You wanted a grandchild? God gave you one. Step up." I turned around and walked back through the security doors. It's been 6 months. The divorce is final. I kept my savings. I kept my sanity. I started seeing a therapist who helped me realize that my worth wasn't tied to my ability to reproduce. Last I heard, Jason moved back in with Barbara. They are raising Maya together in her cramped 2-bedroom house. He looks 10 years older. In the photos mutual friends show me, he looks tired. As for me, I booked a trip to Italy for next month. Just me, no business trips. No baby bags. Just pasta, wine, and the sweet, silent freedom of a life that finally belongs to me. I didn't get the baby I wanted, but I got rid of the husband I didn't need. And honestly, that feels like a miracle to me. If you've ever had to walk away from a situation everyone told you to stay in, tell me your story in the comments. And if you believe that self-respect is the highest form of love, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep choosing ourselves together.